Welcome back to Great Bush Knits. My name is Hannah and this is a channel all about my love of knitting. However, some days I do take the opportunity to talk to you about my other hobbies, which include gardening or baking sourdough. The sourdough baking has actually turned into a small business here, and I have decided to share with you in this video my setup for a winter market. It's been really nice to have this market this month. The last one was right before Christmas, and nice to see everybody, nice to kind of get back into the swing of things. And also we're all excited for the summer season of markets to start. So we're getting ready for that. I'm going to have the setup from the market playing. It is sped up because it took me about half an hour, 40 minutes to fully get the table situated. It was a really great market. I actually completely sold out of everything and had to take orders because I had so much excitement for the roasted garlic and rosemary loaves that I do. I was really lucky, and somebody that was actually selling at the market and sitting right by the entrance was sitting there eating the bread while everybody was walking in. So anybody that got a whiff came straight over and placed an order because she had actually purchased the last loaf that I had on hand. But it was really great, and I am so excited to have had it go so well. First of all, I started out at, well, it would have been on Wednesday. I started baking some of the cookies. Thursday, I actually took off of work and prepped all of my bread. By the end of the day, was able to have everything set up in storage tubs to sit overnight and be able to then form my loaves first thing in the morning on Friday. They do take a few hours at least in the refrigerator to ferment before you bake them. So I was able to kind of go through all of the loaves and do that fermentation process before baking. But my ovens were on, I shouldn't say ovens, I have a typical home kitchen. I don't have anything extra. I do not have any additional baking equipment other than what you would normally have in your kitchen. I have 2 Dutch ovens. I have a few different setups for cooling racks, but other than that, everything is what you probably have at your own home. A lot of people that do baking on the scale that I do, or even, much larger than I do, they have full bakery ovens that can bake something like 50 loaves at a time. And then a lot of times they will also have large industrial refrigerators, or even just a second refrigerator that they can put everything into. I don't have that. I actually, when I'm baking, I take everything out of my refrigerator that is our food. I put it in a cooler and it gets filled with all of our loaves that need to ferment. So I can fit about 16 loaves in there at a time, and that is completely maxed out. We are talking about some other options, but this is only my second year doing this, and I am really surprised at how much demand there has been, and really pleased, really pleased. But once I get all of those loaves baked on Friday, they need at least 2 hours to cool. Sometimes longer, especially for things like cinnamon raisin loaves, which are baked in a loaf pan. I also will label them once they're cool. I bag them, label them. All of that gets loaded into some hefty tubs. They're really nice. They have a locking lid. They've just been the best container for myself. I use them for everything. So I have about 5 or 6 of those that I'm using for my winter markets. Now, when I start doing the summertime markets and I have all my produce from the garden as well, that's going to increase significantly. But also the ones that I tend to use for my bread, I find a more shallow size is better, because then I'm not stacking things on top of each other and having those loaves be smushed. I have toyed with the idea of some different options for transporting, but for right now that works just fine for me. Getting on with the rest of the video, I've set up a white tablecloth already on my table by the time I have started to set the camera up and start filming. That's honestly the biggest struggle that I have, other than really getting everything situated exactly where I want it. The winter markets, I'm always selling something a little bit different, so I don't have a set way of styling my table. However, in the summer, I do have more of a system down. I also have this shelving unit. It is a bamboo shoe storage unit from Walmart. I will link it down in the description, as well as any of the other tools or appliances that I use in case you're interested. I have only used this for my bread. I use it for cooling as well as for display. I have not used it in the summer markets yet. I haven't had a need for it, but I might this year, we'll see. It's been great though. They are actually divided into 3 sections, and then they have some small clamps to hold those sections together. I do wish that they came with more of those just to kind of secure it better, but I know that other bakers that use these will actually zip tie those sections together to keep them more permanent. I find that still having them be able to come apart right now is best for me. So once I have gotten that set up, I actually have these terracotta vases that I was able to get. My mom found them at an antique store and thought of me immediately. Normally in the summer, I will put a glass jar down inside them, fill it with water, and then be able to put my flowers that have a longer stem, like sunflowers, in there. And they're beautiful. I love them. In this market, I'm able to use them as a really nice, sturdy weight to put my sign against. So I've got that set up, and then I have 2 baskets that are a bamboo wicker type of look, and they have a fabric insert in them. So I actually picked those up at Goodwill. I was super, super lucky to find those, and even more lucky when it was actually a set for a really good deal. So I'm really happy to have those, and the fact that they match the cooling rack is even better. So I get those set up, and then from there I just start figuring out where I want to have all of my bread. Now when I do the summer markets, I don't normally set out all of my baked goods at once. I usually will have so much that I have to keep a smaller amount on the table and some stashed away underneath the table. But for this market, I put it all out and available, and I'm so glad that I did, because it went really quickly. So I'm just gonna kind of fidget with where I want to have everything, and in the meantime, I will kind of talk to you about the different things that I sell. So first of all, I have a classic loaf that is your traditional shape. I offer those in a whole loaf or a half loaf. I also sell a roasted garlic and rosemary loaf. Those I sell usually in just a full loaf, but I decided to do a couple half loaves this market, and I sold all of them out really quickly. And that was actually the one that I ended up doing 5 special orders for as well, because they were so sought after at the market on Saturday. The next one that I make is a cinnamon raisin loaf. I also make a sandwich loaf. This I make in a slightly smaller loaf pan. It gives a more traditional shape for your sandwich loaves. And those I sell as whole loaves. I do not do a half loaf on those. But I also have some bagels. I do 4 different flavors right now. I have the original, which is just plain cheddar. I have a jalapeno cheddar, and I also have an everything seasoned bagel. I would really love to try out some different flavors this year and just be able to kind of play with that a little bit. I think that bagels are so delicious and a great option to have, especially if we're doing Friday night markets, they'd be perfect. And then I sell quite a few different types of cookies. This particular market, I just have my spiced dark chocolate cookie. I also have a fall cookie that I will make at times, and that has butterscotch pecan and brown butter. So I hope you enjoyed watching me set up my table at the farmer's market, and I hope that it gave you some inspiration or maybe even made you want to check out what your local areas have as far as markets and see if you can support your local sourdough baker. If you have any questions for me, please leave them down in the comments. I would love to visit with you more about this. I do not know all of the ins and outs about sourdough by any means, but I have had some pretty good experience at baking with it over the last 4 or 5 years. I also am really happy with the welcome that I've received in our town for the sourdough. And I would be happy to talk with you more about that as well. If you're interested in selling at markets and you have any questions, just let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video overall though, and if you did, please give this video a like and maybe consider subscribing if you're not already. And until next time, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you on Saturday. Bye!